Thank you for joining us back on the show. We'll move straight ahead to reviewing our national dailies this morning. And we'll start off with Daily Trust. The bolder headline states protest in Zamfara over renewed bandit attacks. Stories on page 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Federal government puts 32 states, 832 communities on flood alert. You can read the story on page 37 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And just beside it, we have food program suspension. Government declares 575,000 vulnerable. The story is on page 9 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Hunger in Nigeria. Presidency disagrees with... Okay, Guardian, we have... Hunger in Nigeria. Presidency disagrees with Daily Trust editorial. You can read the story on page 8 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And just below the bolder headlines, students, parents, education needs, FLA WAEC results review. You can read the story on page 6 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And NACON PEX 2026 Hajj fare for 8.5 million naira. The story is on page 32 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And Kwam Wan's journey to no-fly list. The story is on page 31 of the Daily Trust newspaper. In 2027, North not swayed by one-term promise, says ACF spokesman. The story is on page 13 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Do well to get yourself a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper for more news.
Now moving on to the Vanguard.
But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that. But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
Standing by to help us unpack or rather review our national dailies this morning is Ben Shemang, former director on News Voice of Nigeria. As usual, he's always here for us. Good morning, Mr. Ben, joining us virtually. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Babu Jadabaya, barka da zuwa.
He'll be here shortly.
Okay. Hello, good morning. Thank you so much, Ben Shemang, for joining us this morning to review our national dailies this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning, Shama. Thank you for joining us this morning.
So we'll move straight ahead.
Thank you very much.
The headlines on Daily Trust this morning: protest in Zamfara over renewed bandit attacks. I mean, this has been on the news. I think we had this review as well on Wednesday, and it's really an alarming situation. Please kindly share your thoughts on that.
Unfortunately, the line went off a bit. Maybe you repeat it?
Okay. The bolder headlines will start up with the Daily Trust this morning, and the bolder headline states protest in Zamfara over renewed bandits attacks. You know, this has been a recent reoccurrence in Zamfara state and other states in Nigeria, and it's really alarming. Please kindly share your thoughts on that.
Honestly, it's very, very alarming. But at the point we saw that Turji was making some offertories, I mean, she was ready to make some give and take a kind of with the government, and we thought it was okay. And now we are seeing that maybe his move is not good enough for some people, or some other bandits are striking here and there. Now the Zamfara citizens are saying they can no longer take it, they can't stomach it, and that's why they are protesting. But you see, in protesting too, we've seen some communities in the same Zamfara state, some in Sokoto state, that have had reasons to to move to the trenches, move to the bushes, and also confront these people. And there have been headways. But if these people will regroup and simply come to say, look, they are in charge, I think that government should show that they are also having a superpower over them. The security forces should take the fight to the bandits in the bushes instead of waiting for them to come to where people are residing. And that's why the people are protesting to ensure that, look, come to our rescue. We have virtually been held hostage here and there. So again, but people will say, this fight is just not for the security agencies alone. It is for everybody to be on board.
Okay, now let's go to the next headline. Federal government puts 32 states, 832 communities on flood alert. I mean, this is what we hear every raining season, every year in, year out. Federal governments are always putting communities on flood alert without doing anything. So what can you say about this headline?
Yeah, you see, on the side of the government can always advise, government can always bring the information that we have. Just like we always have NIMET trying to tell people there are flood-prone estates, flood-prone local governments, flood-prone communities, as they are doing now. If I were to be one of the people living in some valleys or some areas because of history of being inundated year in, year out, I think I should be finding some higher grounds to go stay here there. And now I will not wait for government to come and start giving me palliatives. Never, ever. I'll move to where I'll be safe, myself and my family. But again, it's time for government to also, federal, state, local government, to begin to look at it. Why are these people always adamant? And the moment the floods will come, people become victims and will now be running from pillar to post, helter-skelter, to provide some relief materials. I think time has come that permanent solutions should be found. In doing that, we've always been talking about damming some of this water, like now, this excess water. If we had dug a dam or created a dam or constructed a dam, we harvest this water so that it remains there. We now control the flow of the dam. Now we are talking this time around, Cameroon has not released its own water that will come from Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, go to the Niger Delta areas. So a whole lot of things still waiting to happen, but we pray that lives will not be involved. But surely when government wants this way, people should leave. A government too should bring the hammer, move from these areas permanently, so that in dry season, people should go to places where they will be safe in wet season.
All right, Ben Shemang, I'll be merging two headlines together. First, which is the food program suspension. Federal government declares 575,000 vulnerable. And also hunger in Nigeria. Presidency disagrees with the Daily Trust editorial. I mean, when I saw this post on X yesterday, I was like, you know, no lies, there is hunger in the land. And now there's another headline stating that the federal government, is declaring 575,000, people vulnerable, and they have decided to, halt it because there is a gap presently now to, provide funds for the food program. Please kindly share your thoughts on that quickly.
Yes, you see, when Daily Trust wrote an editorial, by the way, a serious issue on ground that a newspaper will come and give an informed opinion. But if the government is saying it's not true, but the same government is identifying some vulnerable communities, and they are also trying to give some palliatives. So you can see there's a contradiction there. But talking seriously, and even though we've been talking serious matters, but I want to look at it from another angle. Go to villages and you now see what poverty is all about. Dash somebody 1,000 naira and see the way the person jubilates, because for a long time they've not had it. And these are people who are supposed to be farming. We're in a farming community. Very many communities are agrarian in nature. If government can supply fertilizer, just harvest the excess grains and take care of the people when when there are needs. But when we begin to depend on a foreign government, foreign agencies to begin to take care of our people in this country, I think that we are missing it completely. We should not always be talking about election. Today, people are talking of 2027. They've forgotten that the voters will need to feed, the voters need security, the voters need health care, the voters need education, quite a lot, protection of the environment, as we've been saying. So I think that government should not just sweep that editorial under the carpet as if nothing happened. It's something serious. They are calling, Daily Trust is calling on federal government, look at this, take action, else more problems are ahead.
So now, students, parents, educationists flee WAEC results review. There are wide criticisms and public outrage that lots of students failed the WAEC results this year. The examination body on Monday released the results, which were widely regarded as the worst in 10 years. And lots of people, parents and other bodies claim that some students have to write exams in the dark. And it's one of the reasons that there was a mass failure this year. What can you say about this headline?
Is it not just that students were made to write examination in the dark, no light, nothing? Then WAEC also introduced this computer-based kind of a thing for villagers, some who have never touched a computer and they've never been taught, and you now want them to write and pass. It's just like today, you give me a fighter jet, you say that I should just go bomb Boko Haram. How do I start it? How do I move? What button do I press? So quite a lot of things. And I want to share an experience to you. There's this school in a government secondary school, Bondon. Bondon is in Kaura local government, Kaduna State. Some students got registered. The subjects they registered were not the ones given to them as question papers. And each question also had names. So there's a big whole lot of confusion that needs to be corrected by WAEC. And why was it that when you announced the result and they said, for the last 5 years, the abysmal, the disgraceful, the unspeakable level at which people felt is a serious matter. But now, allow parents to check this result. You now say the portal had gone bad, still compounding the problems. And therefore, it's a call on state governments, particularly the northern states, that are always complaining. Now, if WAEC is saying that they're going computer-based, you cannot have situations where you see secondary schools, you don't even have ICT-based teachers, not to talk of the computers, not to talk of lights, not to talk of what to do to answer questions, nothing like Corel Draws, nothing, you can't calculate, you can't open, you can't shut down the computer, nothing. Yet you now say, go and write an examination. How would they pass? So if you look at it, it's not as if the students are actually very dull. No. They know something, but theirs is they are not computer-based, and that's why this mass failure is there. It's for the state government to look at many of these things rather than blaming WAEC.
Let's hear your thoughts on this, very controversial drama that has been making waves, everywhere. Kwamwan's journey to no-fly list. I mean, for people that travel, using the domestic flights, we know, there are steps in which you get to board at the end of the day. And then, there are different stories surrounding this. Oh, he boarded, the flight with alcohol in his cup and what have you. And, that is a huge question concerning the security check at the airport, because, of course, you need to be checked in before you, board your flight. How come he was not checked in there, and he made it to the flight with the alcohol in the hand? It's a whole lot of story. So kindly share your thoughts on that.
Yes, for Kwamwan to have gone into very close to the base of the aircraft, where there are no checks, and when you say you cannot pass with such a quantity of liquid, we never knew, or we don't even know whether it was beer, it was alcoholic drinks or something. You can't pass with them. At what point, at the last check, he was able to pass, and he came to check in. They said, look, you cannot pass with this. And the man started busting, look, do you know who I am? He started calling some people and all that. The pilot tried to make some moves. Well, the ground security, the ground personnel of the air ways was trying to block him. He went very close to the plane. But again, it was also wrong for the pilot to start moving, to start taxiing. And you could see that all of them, including the personnel, they all were bending down to ensure that the wing of the plane did not hit them on their heads. Absolutely. It was a whole lot of a mess, a security breach. It's against ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization rules. You cannot enter with this volume of water. Whatever you're drinking, if you need any, you'll be supplied in the plane. But why was he trying to enter there? And if the container was such a thing that they said it was hot flask, can you turn it to a weapon and begin to fight people inside the aeroplane? So quite a lot of things. And we're talking of celebrities. He said, do you know where he was trying to? They said he wanted to call the owner of the airline to tell him he was being blocked. The owner of the airline has to also obey civil aviation authorities. He cannot just say, okay, allow him, I know him. If you know him, do you know what he was carrying? So a whole lot of things. And you allowed a pilot to fly in anger. You know what it takes. You are up there, the pilot is annoyed. What happens to the passengers? What happens to lives? Just because one man feels he's above the law, he cannot be above the law. If it is even in his house, if we see him trying to set his house ablaze, in fact, we'll go and arrest him, even when it is his house, not to talk of a place that belongs to everybody, including his children. And I'm sure his children, his fans, his wife, everybody is disappointed the way Kwamwan wanted to smuggle himself, force himself into the plane, and thereby delaying many people. Was supposing a doctor was going to treat some people in Lagos or Port Harcourt and they needed to fly. Kwamwan was saying, no, he must enter with a drink. He must enter with a container against every law. That is not permissible. It's disgraceful. It's the best. It's the worst of the worst humanity coming from a celebrity like him.
We are out of time, and you're correct. You know, it's not a good thing. People look up to you as a celebrity at the end of the day, so you should be able to set the right precedent and be a role model to people. Thank you so much for joining us this morning in reviewing our national dailies. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank you. Thank God it's Friday. I'll just be reading my books.
Have a great day ahead, Shama.
On this note, we draw the curtains this morning on Daybreak. Thank you so much for watching wherever any part of the world that you have watched us this morning, whether online on our digital platform. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for every single, caller that shared their thoughts on our interactive segment, and also those that sent in their WhatsApp message. And to our guests that made it this morning during our discussion segment, we say thank you to you all. I am Mimuna Bagudu. Do tune in tomorrow morning for Daybreak Extra to enjoy your weekend. Mariam?
That's right, Mariam. I myself with Fatima will be ready to have you all at 8 a.m. tomorrow for Daybreak Extra. I am Mariam Idris. Have a nice day ahead.
Bye-bye.